Congratulations to everybody else in this class who have made it to the finish line. This oral communications class was a lot more difficult than I had ever anticipated. This class was compacted into 5 very long, very difficult weeks, each week covering a different topic. During our first week, it was definitely the icebreaker. We learned ways to cope with the anxiety of public speaking, as well as how to use your freedom of speech in order to give a speech without making it offensive to your audience. The last thing you want to do is lose your audience's attention and have them ignoring you while you're giving a speech. So when using freedom of speech, you want to kind of keep it appropriate and kind of low-key, not necessarily give your whole opinion all the time. This was our first speech, and let me tell you, speaking in front of 5 of your most closest friends was definitely anything but a breeze. Even though we weren't supposed to, I actually had to start over about 3 times because at the beginning of each of my speeches, I had completely forgotten my name. We learned techniques such as, early preparation, memorization, and simple things such as body language, keeping your hands to your side, your eyes focused on your audience. This helped with minimizing anxiety. This week was by far the most challenging. As we moved into week 2, we learned about impromptu speeches. The main idea of this session was to learn how to be audience-centered, how to keep the focus of your audience. A good presentation is going to consist of having their attention, obviously not, them talking to their friends, otherwise they're not listening to you. Relate to your audience. Make sure that your presentation is something that they can understand. You're not going to hold the attention of a 3rd or 4th grade audience if you're going on and on talking about running a business or concepts of science or anything else, something that they can understand. You want to make sure your vocabulary is within their range. Like I said, you don't want to talk to little kids about using medical terminology. They're not going to understand what you're saying. Most importantly, remember your eye contact. You don't have to stare down your audience, but you do want them to know that you are talking to them. This speech was still pretty difficult for me. I said a lot. I'm still saying a lot, and that's something I'm still learning on. There we go again. Yeah, it gets better as it goes on. The 3rd week, we learned about informative speeches. During this session, we learned how to create a really detailed outline. This outline had helped me so much in this session and throughout the rest of the class. Having a way to organize your thoughts and ideas was so helpful, especially if you're given a speech that you don't necessarily want to memorize. Just by outlining and having your main ideas in bold on whether it be cards or a piece of paper, that way you can just glance down at your main idea real quick in your outline, it helped so much. It automatically triggered that memory of everything that you know about that topic, rather than getting up in front of your audience and not having any visuals or anything like that. You basically draw a blank when you get up there. So the outline was absolutely wonderful. I did better in this session with my speech because I also chose a topic that I was familiar with and well educated on, rather than trying to learn something and then regurgitate my information to an audience on a topic that I wasn't so familiar with. So I did a little bit better on that one, I thought. Week 4. During this week, we studied demonstrative speeches. This was one of the most fun, I thought, but it was also kind of tricky. Not only did you have to give your speech, but you had to demonstrate how to do something. In my case, I had demonstrated how to cook something, how to make deviled eggs. Once again, it was something that I had already learned. I already knew the recipe and how to do it, so that did help. I demonstrated how to make deviled eggs. The hard part about the speech was keeping your focus on your audience more so than actually what you were doing. When you're demonstrating something, you kind of tend to want to turn away or talk to whatever you're trying to do or make or whatever. So you got to remember to maintain your focus on your audience. Keep audience centered, which is what we learned in the 2nd session. It was tricky, but I did have the most fun with this presentation. Week 5. This was our last week. We had learned about persuasive speeches, which are different than informative speeches. You're actually trying to persuade somebody to go one way or the other on a topic. One of the most important things that I thought that I learned during the speech was to relate to your audience. when you're trying to persuade someone one way or another, you have to relate to them, whether it be including a personal experience or facts concerning the audience. Kind of relate to them so that they can, concerning the way they feel connected to you. If you're trying to talk to somebody about lollipops and chocolates, and nope, that person doesn't like candy, and you're trying to persuade them to you're not really going to get anywhere. So you have to relate to your audience there again. Give examples, facts, have visual aids. Those are also helpful with giving persuasive speeches. We also learned in session 5, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. This was so much, we learned when you make a mistake, as I just did, I drew a blank. One of the big things that we learned in session 5 is to move on gracefully. When you make a mistake, either laugh it off or just kind of go on gracefully. You don't want to stop and start over, or you got to be confident in yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself either. Everybody makes mistakes, you're going to just move on gracefully and continue your speech. So I kind of gave a perfect example there as I stalled out and made a perfect mistake, but here we are, we're going on. So much learning in so little time. This class was a wonderful experience and very beneficial. I would recommend this to anybody pursuing a future in school or with anything. They should obviously pretty much give this in high school, I think. I also wanted to give a special thanks to my professor, all my classmates, my audience, and my cameraman for all of their help, hard work, and participation in this course. We all had a wonderful time. Thank you.